I'm going to walk you through a close call I had with a driver this week where the priority of an intersection had changed and this driver completely failed to notice that there was now a give way sign pointing in their direction, and they went blasting through this crossing without slowing down, which is a bit of a problem. So what's happened here? Well, we're back in Perth, we're in South Perth, and since I was here in December, the South Perth Council has changed the priority at a number of crossings. So where the shed path crosses over some side streets that lead into car parks, they've converted them so that now drivers need to give way to cyclists crossing the road. Now, at a couple of these intersections, there was previously a red asphalt hump across the road, obviously to slow drivers down a little bit and make it a continuous path for cyclists. And what they've done is they've come along and painted these big green rectangles in the middle of the road, obviously to, I guess, make it more obvious that there's a crossing here. And then they've also put some giveaway signs either side, obviously, for drivers. And they have put up some signage both for cyclists and for drivers saying that the conditions have changed. Although what I did notice is those signs are not everywhere. So for instance, what I did is I rode down this street just to have a look at what it looked like from the perspective of a driver, and as I was approaching the give way sign, which wasn't totally obvious, there was no modified road layout sign from this direction. So you'd have to, keep your eyes open to see that. And obviously the council hasn't turned these things into zebra crossings. Maybe they're going to do that in the future, I don't know, but there's certainly nothing there at the moment to really indicate to drivers that they need to give way at these intersections, apart from seeing the give way sign. Now, what we're going to see in a sec is this driver who drove into the car park, did a U-turn, and then came blasting out again and pulled over and parked. And I think that's because she works here and does that every day and just hadn't noticed there was a give way sign. And I just went up to her window and told her there was now a give way sign there. So let's just listen to that bit of audio now. There's no swearing. It was all cool.
Let's give way now, mate. Let's give way now. That's right.
So as you might have heard from that audio, if it was clear, she was really surprised and quite apologetic that she just hadn't noticed that giveaway sign there at all. And I think what this comes down to is a habit and maybe complacency. So like I said, well, the way she was dressed and parking there, there's retirement homes and stuff around there, and I think she might have worked in one of them and has probably been parking there for months and just has completely failed to notice that council's come along and changed things around. So this is a question for, I guess, council traffic managers and road engineers and all that kind of stuff. How do you communicate change like this to drivers? Now, obviously they've put some signage up to say that the road layout is modified, but obviously that's not sufficient because, in two cases of riding along here, drivers have just blown straight through those giveaway signs without seeming to notice that they're there. There is no issue with the sight lines. I rode up and down the roads to check that the sight lines were clear, and that was all good. It was, I think, like I said, it comes down to habit. People drive down here, I guess, some of them might drive into some of these car parks to go to the ferry, for instance. Some might come down here regularly for sailing or whatever. They've been doing it for ages. They've never seen a giveaway sign there before, and their brain just completely blanks out the fact that there's now a sign there because they're not used to it, they're not looking for it, they just don't see it. They look but they don't see, or the brain filters it out. So it comes down to how do you really make sure that the drivers are picking up on that? Because the only way I avoided a collision in that instance is I saw that the conditions had changed, and I thought, I'm going to go and have a look at what this looks like from a driver's perspective. Now, how many cyclists would bother to do that? And I think you could count the number of them on one hand. The second thing I did was I analysed it from a risk perspective and said, what are the risks with this change in layout? And to me, the most obvious risk was the driver's not going to notice the change and they're just going to go blatting through like she did. And so I was prepared for it, and I then had an action plan. Well, what do I do to mitigate the risk? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm not going to go blasting through these intersections. I'm going to watch very carefully to make sure drivers have seen me and are slowing down or stopping. And if they show any sign of not slowing down, I'm going to be on the brakes already and slowing down myself. And if I have to, I'm just going to jam on the brakes and come to a halt. But I'll be going slow enough that I'll pull up quickly. So that was my thought process, and that's exactly what happened. Now, again, how many people are going to go and do that kind of risk analysis and have the luxury to do that in advance and think about it? So when something wrong does happen, they're not trying to process things in milliseconds. They've already got a plan of action, and they just enact that plan. So what I think needs to be done is put down some giveaway stencils like this on the approach to that intersection. Don't just rely on signage up a pole. Now, they've gone and put these giveaway stencils or road markings on lots of bike paths in the area. So why not put it on the road as well for drivers? The other thing, given the speed that driver came out of the car park, I think that says, the little hump across the road here is not sufficient to slow people down. You probably need a speed hump about here or a cushion, just to make sure drivers have slowed down before they get to this crossing, not trying to slow them down at the crossing. And obviously that hump, because it was a fairly low one, didn't slow her down at all. So yeah, speed's an issue, and just habit, I guess, is an issue. Anyway, hopefully councils can learn something from this about how to do change management and communication when these changes are made, and how we snap drivers out of their existing habits and make the roads safer for everybody.